Guys, intro time.
Wait, which intro?
The wisdom check.
Oh, good.
Wait, no. I thought we were keeping the old intro. What's wrong with the old one? People like that one.
It was too long.
Yeah.
Too many fucking gifs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but can we keep the part where I yell, more?
No.
But it's the intro to end all intros.
I got, 2 lines last time?
Do you want more lines, Tim?
Well, no, not really.
In a world without answers.
Yeah.
Wait, do you want to start with that?
Here we go, exactly like last time.
Wait, okay, so we're doing it the exact same way? Let's start with the Smoky Bar.
No, it's a new season. We have to have a new intro.
More.
Not sure why we thought this would go any differently.
Oh, well. Welcome, everyone, to the Wisdom Check, where Jeff and Dustin welcome a guest every week to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Welcome.
This is ridiculous. I'm starting the stream now.
Wait, where's my die at? Well, we can't start until I botch, and it's not an intro unless I'm botching.
You're on.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Wisdom Check. As always, I'm Jeff, and across the way, all the way on the other side is Dustin. Say hello, Dustin.
Everyone.
And between us, you'll be noticing somebody that some of you in the chat probably know pretty well, because it looks like he brought his own fan base with him, and that's MattyMorgs. Matt is with us, joining from his own channel, MattyMorgs. And
hello, good evening.
Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate you. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you do over there, and in particular, we're interested in seeing kind of what your position is in the community of gaming at large, because it sounds like you are kind of one of those central hubs, one of those very important positions that comes up as a store owner. So we'll definitely say thank you for that and talk a lot about that. But the first question we usually like to get into with people is, how did you get started in gaming?
Well, like many people, high school is a good origin point, though I think I can take one step before that. When I was younger, my older brother played D&D with his friends, D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was younger that I was looking through his books. And so I opened up like an old monster manual and just looking at the black and white drawings of creatures and reading that, between 3 and 15 roam across temperate planes. And, I didn't know what all the scores meant, but I was reading about these things that didn't exist. But in my mind, as I was discovering them, they were coming to life. And it was something I always wanted to do, but I never got to play D&D with him and his friends. So, it kind of put me on the path to, I played Final Fantasy on the Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. I
I had a physical copy of that. I mean, I got a Nintendo for Christmas when I was younger. And it would, go into other role-playing games. And I always liked that sense of adventure and travel.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward now, we are in the mid to late 90s. I am in high school. Mm-hmm. And Magic the Gathering has come out. And I got in around Ice Age 4th edition.
Yep,
and
that's when
I didn't know at the time, but of course it was made by a bunch of D&D players who were looking for something to do between campaigns. But I resonated with it. I'm like, oh, these cool creatures and the combos, and it was a lot of fun. And so I started playing Magic when I was in high school, and I was one of those nerds who'd go in before classes started. I'd sit in the cafeteria, throw it on with my friends, and we'd duel. Then undergraduate, college, and I was fortunate enough to have a hallway full of unrepentant nerds. And one of them was really into D&D. And I said, I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I never had the chance. And this was when third edition. Woo. Third edition just came out. And this was a jumping on point.
Yeah.
So, he took me through, showed me the ropes of character creation. And, we played in some adventures, met other people who liked this, and they shared their stories.
Mm-hmm.
Then I graduated, came home. There's other stories that happened after I came home that I'm sure we'll get into. But just sticking to my personal story of involvement in D&D, at some point, things happened that I came into ownership of a friendly local game store, but that didn't stop me from playing. And even ever since doing that, there'd be some nights where I'd close the store and I'd have a private game night in the store with a group of friends that would either stay after or they'd be invited. We'd all get Thai food or pizza or something. I've had an ongoing Sunday night game of D&D that years and years and years with an ongoing living world. And I've gotten to play, well, even just beyond D&D as well. I have a lot of happy memories in Vampire the Masquerade. Yeah. I've played Mage. I ran Dark Heresy for 3-4 years in an ongoing campaign. And so lots of this and that's happened. One thing leads to another. And hi everyone, I'm MattyMorgs, and I'm here with you on Wisdom Check.
It's to say that you've made your way through a lot of different systems and a lot of different types of games and everything from Vampire the Masquerades to other types of systems there that you mentioned. Like, so did you ever delve into things like LARP? Because that was kind of big at the time in the 90s there also.
Yes. I did not get to participate in a fantasy LARP, although my friend in college was a part of a group that was active in West Virginia, like Southern Ohio, West Virginia, since that's the area that we were going to school. And so he talked to me about it. And it wasn't until later when I had the store that I was hosting a vampire Mind's Eye Theater LARP.
Yep.
And so we had a group that came down and was actively playing there. And for a limited capacity, I was able to participate. So what I did was, the group knew if I had to take a phone call or if I was doing business, that's fine. So I played kind of an NPC, a bit of a quest giver. And also, appropriately enough, as a sort of a merchant character where figures could come and redeem favors and perhaps, get clues, that kind of be snuck across the counter to them and, things along those lines. So, hey, if you're going to be busy doing something, lean into it and make that a part of the character so it doesn't really break immersion.
That's fantastic. Because it's interesting because Dustin and I both started, it sounds, around the same period as you. And we must be in the same age group as one another. Because, the late 90s, going through high school and dealing with the early college days, it lines up almost exactly for me. And for our kind of origin story here, we talk about this quite frequently. But Dustin and I actually used to run a LARP in Champaign, Illinois. So
part of OWBN. Well, actually, we broke away from OWBN by then. But
yeah, we were rebels.
Rebels.
But that's really cool though, because one of the things we were kind of touching on before in the pre-chat was just how important it is to build community and the kind of the role that game stores fill in that capacity. Because we were talking a little bit about how you can go anywhere to buy a book. Especially this day and age. Maybe not so when we were coming up. Obviously there were only so many places, brick and mortar, that you can go and find some of this cool stuff. And if you're lucky enough, you had one near you. Or in our case, you had to go like half an hour, 45 minutes away to find one. But there's something beautiful about the game store, the table, the group of local people that comes about when you go to the game store. So what do you do to kind of create that?
That's there's a lot that can go into creating a community like that. First and foremost, you have to believe in people, even if they let you down, even if there are things that happen in the world, in the community, in like the city or the state, or even just in your own gaming community. If you're going to build a community, you have to be comfortable interacting with people of all different shapes and sizes and backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. Because at the end of the day, that's what you are. That's who you are. That's what you do. You are in the people business, not necessarily just the things business. Right. And even more so in today's world, where I could get on maybe eBay or Amazon, or heck, I could probably even find just a little local website, and I can probably have an authentic, like didgeridoo, like hand painted and eaten out by termites and formed by you know, a native group down in Australia, I could probably have that on my front porch here in Ohio in a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
So the age of getting stuff, we can get stuff. I can get whatever stuff I want.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the focus? And the focus then is on the people, is on the service, which can be, there's some buzzwords, you know, FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out, or YOLO, you only live once. There's a lot of that kind of sentiment that, you know, it could be a throwaway term or it could even be abused. But it's at the end of the day, if people know that can you be there? Can you try and be consistent? Do they know that they can come to you with a question, or if something good or bad happens?
Right.
That is what is going to build the community, because anyone can get stuff. Not everyone can get eye contact. Not everyone can get a handshake or, hey, how's it going? Hey, how's that new job going? Or, you know, how's your relationship with so-and-so? Or, oh, you know, I'm sorry. I heard that your dog had passed away, you know, last month. It's good to see you. I hope things are well. I'll tell you, I know someone at the local pound and has the dog, you know, a dog that I think when you're ready, that you'd love to adopt. You know, someone who gets to know you, someone who cares, who pays attention, someone who's conversational, might even be able to inform you. And it's not just the outflow of information. It's also someone who can learn from you, because you two gentlemen live different lives than I do. You have different educations, you have different job experiences and life experiences. And you have done and will do things that I have not or cannot do. And yet, if I know you and we talk, and there's, you know, a roof over our heads where we can get together on a consistent basis, you know, like a local game store, you can tell me about all the cool stuff you do in life, and you can enrich me. It's not even just me being behind the counter and, you know, just constantly, you know, pumping out information and greetings. It's what can I also take from you, because that empowers you, that lifts you up. And there's no better way of learning than by teaching. That also reinforces the things that you know and that you believe. And it empowers you in this in this like microcosm community that we've created, because now you're the person who's knowledgeable about making homemade pizza, or you're the person who knows all the tricks to using chalk to color your dog's fur. I mean, we all do different things.
You never know what it's going to be.
You are the go-to person, and so it's a mutual exchange. I'm a go-to person if you want to trade Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You're a go-to person if I want to, you know, if I want to make pizza and dye my poodle pink with chalk.
Now, listening to you, I hadn't put this comparison in my head together before, but you're essentially the role of a bartender. Bartenders do that same sort of deal. You sit down, but you always think when people talk about having their favorite bar that they go to, it's usually the bartender that sells them. Everybody sells the same whiskeys, wines, whatever, but it's the person giving it to you, the rapport you've built up with that person. Like, in a lot of ways, that's the same thing you're doing, just without, but you got, you know, opinions on what your favorite drinks are, and you got favorite pins on your favorite games. And they pick up a book and they're like, hey, what's this book? You're like, hey, I could tell you this because I played it before, or hey, that guy over there's played it, because people in your store then also become a resource that way. And that's how you start to build up that little bit of community, is through that interaction with people. That, because you can go buy a book at, like, I went recently to Books A Million because it reopened up, and I looked through the game section and there's books there for Shadowrun and a few other games, and I'm sitting there flipping through, look at these books. I could pull any of those clerks in that Books A Million over and be like, hey, tell me about this book. They'd be like, I have no idea what that is.
Right. Yeah.
They don't know the first thing about it. So it's nice to have people that speak your language almost and understand you, and that's got to be the primary part of what you do.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I hadn't really pieced together that connection of the public house. You know, like, you think of pub, you know, but this is a different abstraction of it. But it is very true. It's a human need to be part of a community of some sort. And, you know, particularly us geeks, we have probably a big desire for that, considering we usually have a hard time finding it.
And this is anecdotal. I don't have like a government report or a peer-reviewed university study. But doing this for as long as I have, I can tell you that not as many Friday night like quarterbacks come down to local game stores, and so many of the people who form the customer base and the tabletop community, there are those who might be more reclusive, or they might have felt on the fringes of some kind of another group or society at large, and there are those who might have they've picked up the hobby because they have some kind of a medical issue. It could be a degenerative problem, so they're not really mobile. Maybe they're homebound, or they can get out. They can get out every Friday for Friday Night Magic, and that's their interaction. But beyond that, it's very stressful. And so you get a lot of people as well who just come from all different kinds of backgrounds in life, and not many of them are always the I'm the social alpha butterfly who can go effortlessly around, and at the same time, while those people may not be as whatever we would consider to be socialized or normalized to that, they can also tell when you're being fake.
Right.
If you're being saccharine, if you're just like, almost it was a term that I heard used just a couple weeks ago. It was called toxic positivity, where it's that kind of, you're being nice, but it's to the point where you're almost insulting, or you're coddling an adult human being who may have special considerations or needs, but you're kind of going out of your way to just treat them like an infant. So so it's just an instinctual thing. We're social creatures. And so even those who may not be whatever regularly social might quantify to be will know if you're creating that kind of nothing matters and everyone gets a trophy and everything is the same when it's not, or that, well, I'm treating you like a label. I'm treating you like an adjective and not a human being. How about that?
Yeah.
And so, I recognize you have an adjective or two around your identity. That's, we all do, but you're a human being, not a human doing. You're not a X, Y, or Z. You are whoever you are to this person. And that's a big part too, is to create that environment, and why game stores can prosper, because you might not have the Friday night like quarterbacks, but you have strategists. You have people, who will come down and they'll participate in FNM or Pokemon League or whatever, and they're using their minds and their tactics and their strategies. They're also being social. They suffer defeat. They encourage victory. They teach others. Parents might come in with children, and the children teach the parents. Or a lot of this has been around long enough that parents have been teaching kids how to play Magic, how to play Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, because it's been around that long. And now it's a generational bridge that, it's not the same as, in a concept, it's the same as football, or, hey, my dad was in the Army, I'm going to be in the Army too. Or, my grandfather, everyone was farmers, and I'm going to be a farmer as well. Or a lot of these things that we pass down, belief systems, and in all of this, this popular culture has now woven itself similarly, so that it is being passed on, and it is competitive. We have esports also. Look at Twitch. Look at the platform we're using right now. How many esports competitions do we see? And will they ever be as big as the Super Bowl here in the States? Maybe not, but it doesn't have to be, because it's its own thing, and it's just as meaningful to those people who participate in it than it is for football fans. And sometimes there's football fans who also love esports too.
It's true. I work to them right here. Hey, I do want to acknowledge the fact that we did get rated by Laugh Love Lindy. They brought 18 people with us, so thank you so very much.
Her people are here, so welcome Lindy and those who came with her. This is the Wisdom Check. We're talking with MattyMorgs tonight about operating a game store, and we're getting into some fun stuff there, and I'm being rated by my 4-year-old here behind me. So you hear all the extra noise and the extra captions. It's him jumping on my couch in my man cave. I forgot to lock the door again. Honey, if you're watching, come help.
you got to hold up a little sign,
This is my real life here. This is every day. This is what happens.
Yeah. let's see. Oh, Shadzar is saying we belong more in a talk show category. Potentially. We do a lot of talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Sometimes we go in the tabletop role playing because we're talking, about more general concepts in those games. But, I could see, talk show being a topic if you wanted to go into other things, like if we're talking about sports, for instance, or something like that. I think that would make more sense. But I don't know. That is an interesting thing. With the technology we have in play here, some of it is, what is the expectation of the consumer? And so like when we have a, gaming store, the expectation is, somebody's going to be able to come in, they're going to be able to find the products, they're going to be able to find, potentially other players to group with, and a safe place to play. We got another follow. Thank you, Hamsters with Hats. Thank you very much. And that's something we try to think about when we're here as well, is that when you're coming to the show, we like to present, different people, different ideas, different philosophies, bringing different things to the table. So it's not just, what Dustin and I think. Like originally we kind of started off talking as just the two of us about things in gaming. And then we quickly realized that was not the best format. We really should be, bringing in other voices and getting their 2 cents, because they're oftentimes more valuable than 2 cents. So, you were touching on a lot of really interesting things there. And, I think when we were coming up, we didn't really have that gaming store to go to. We had the closest thing we really had was Walden Books in the mall, 40 miles away. You go in there like Dustin was saying, and you'd pick up something, you'd hope that this was something worthwhile. And that was basically the 2 books they had on offer, So it wasn't really the same thing. And for us, it was very much a experience of, finding that 1 or 2 people you knew in high school that, do you do this too? Come on over.
It was just,
Got like secret handshakes and stuff. So, how long have you been running this gaming store?
Since 2006 is when I got into the business in the form of a partnership. Mm-hmm. And then I've piloted it myself since 2008. I've done it for a little while.
Yeah. But it's a tough business right about now. Because I imagine there's been a lot of adaptations recently and trying to make sure that things are working well, especially, this year. I can imagine you're going through a lot of the same things that we're doing at my household. We rely on conventions for our income and no conventions. So it's been a very different year for us, and I imagine that's the same for you. How have you been dealing with that?
Yeah, well, you hear the term pivot used a lot in business lingo right now. And, in a sense, I can't say I was prepared for this, though, as a small business going through the Great Recession, I survived that. And that you want to talk about another tough time, because there wasn't the same, like it or don't like it. There's all these checks that are going out and enhanced unemployment benefits and such. That didn't exist during the Great Recession. Right. And that was a super scary time.
It really was.
That was the time where you throw your bills in a hat and you pick out the one that gets paid that month. Mm-hmm. And that's the time when you're like, boy, I think the state of Ohio is probably going to send me a letter about some sales taxes soon. And it's tough and it's scary and it's embarrassing and it's all this. And for this, of course, there's been an impact since the governor I think our governor DeWine was one of the first to make announcements about just, no, we're going to close bars and restaurants. And of course, when that happened, we talk about like now somehow ancient history. It was like 40 days ago.
It feels like ancient history.
It feels longer. There was so much anger, like how dare and how quickly has it adapted. But being someone who's, the crew we knew what was going to happen. It is a social environment, like we're talking about. It's a bar. We don't serve alcohol, but it's a bar. Mm-hmm. So no organized play, and of course, organized play supports so many other sales and activity.
It really does.
And then honestly, like staying ahead, thinking, okay, well, we're not serving food, but if we have snacks and drinks, but we say it must be taken outside as a CYA because. I don't know if someone from the state or county could randomly pop in and go, hold on, you're selling food and drink, and because I don't know, this is an emergency state. This is who knows what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not exactly saying like habeas corpus is going to be suspended or other things like that, but here we're having a lot of government agencies coming in and doing drastic things. Or again, there's also it's not just a matter of legality or illegality.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I've carried and was heavily taught during my master's degree is ethics in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And to do the ethically right thing, even if it, because legality and ethics are two different things, and they're parallel in many instances.
Hopefully they're close, but usually they're in that same lane-ish.
If this turned into, I don't know, an abuse or an extension, or what if we had this concept of, in tabletop terms, munchkinism? Mm-hmm. I can because the rules don't say that I cannot.
Right. Yeah.
And if the store was being a munchkin, and there is another store or even an individual or maybe the newspaper in doing its duty to report, on ethics or illegality or just on what's happening in the community, were to come by and see that we're being munchkins or possibly endangering people. We're talking about in the pre-show, what would be the headline? Friendly local game store literally infects thousands of people in the county.
Yeah.
That's obviously hyperbolic, but you get the idea.
Well, it made it even worse when you consider the fact that I imagine your audience and your people coming into the store are on the younger side.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and there's already a lot of concerns. Younger people with compromised immune systems as well, kind of getting into the demographics of people who might have more time to play hobbies because they are more homebound or various things like that. So, yeah, the tables went up against the wall and the lights got turned off. And, I'd still go down to the store and I'd, clean things, sort things, take home some things to try and support the store in some other way. But the SBA never got back to me for the extended business loans. Oof. And so what I ended up doing, I was telling this tale on Discord because there was nothing really going on, no one getting back. And of course, that first round of loans just evaporated. I mean, just up and vanished like a fart in the wind there. Yeah. I went to PayPal and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I can take a loan out through PayPal because I've been using it forever. And I think like my account number is like 102. I don't know, something like that.
You ran you got some founder's reward package or something there?
Well, and so I was able to take a loan through PayPal, and that was nice because it was immediate money up front. But I'll tell you, when PayPal takes 30%. If I vend a capsule, a $10 capsule, it costs at least $5, if not $6 to replace that item that was vended. Cool. That leaves $4. PayPal took $3 of those dollars, and there's $1 floating that ended up going into shipping because this was a pivot for me to try and, what do I do? I had to make some adaptations. How can I do other things? How can I use this platform perhaps as a way to try and make it up? But I've been spending this whole time trying to dig myself out of a loan to just get by, to sustain. There's no progress. I'm not going on vacation to a nice tropical locale. This was like survival getting by.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And now I was turning product, but I had no income.
Right.
There was nothing at the net. There's nothing coming in. Mm-hmm. But the community needs to know that there is someone out there who cares, who is that person that we can come to, we can gather together. And if I can help you pass the time with minis to paint or conversation or, you watch us role play on Tuesdays or whatever, me being here. So there was really, even the money from PayPal was simply going to keep the community going. Right. While I was treading water with my nose just sort of, above it, so I could make sure that I didn't get that really anxious sounding sonic suffocating or sonic drowning, music going on.
Right.
and so I only just now, thanks to the communities out there, and I mean for you guys for rating and coming by, it's not all mercantile.
Sure.
This is purely about the outreach, the building of the community, and this wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have been doing this, if I hadn't been doing things in a generally correct fashion.
Right.
And I only just now paid that off, so maybe I can actually earn income.
Yeah,
I might have $1 in my pocket. That's my dollar now.
Yeah,
maybe. We'll see.
I say Dustin maybe wanted to say something here, so I'll step
no,
out.
I was just saying, like, it's, is there incredibly strange and hard times that we're all dealing with right now, like in very different ways. Like my situation is almost the opposite of yours. Like I work in healthcare, so obviously I ain't missed a beat. That part I'm not dealing. Mine is dealing with the actual, virus itself and dealing with all the stresses of actually still going to work every day and my kids being home. And like, so I have like the opposite issue. Like my stresses are because I still am going in there every day and having to punch, but I am very grateful that I'm not just with my nose up barely above the water also. Like, so it's interesting to hear everybody's stories about what they come in and out of this thing with. And I feel for all the people I know what I've seen Jeff and his dad kind of going through, through this process as an artist who goes to conventions and makes all their money at conventions. They're dealing with a lot of the same stuff. So it's kind of heartbreaking to hear some of this, but it's great to see like how much the community, I noticed on your channel, like how much they're starting to come in and really support you on this stuff. Yeah, so
absolutely.
It's been amazing to see all of that.
Speaking of support, I apparently forgot to turn on our notifications on the actual stream, but we just had another follow from Big Tiger Man, so thank you.
Hey, Big Tiger Man, thanks for the follow.
It's super important how this is going down because you're talking about pivoting. I'm not sure if you started your channel with this event or if you had a channel prior to that, but I know for my dad, he just started a channel and he just started looking at this social media kind of stuff to kind of get that going as a potential way of contacting fans and getting things in front of other people, staying in contact with other artists, networking to keep other artists, afloat. So it's interesting seeing all that in play. And it's really nice that this is an option. Think of another time, like 2008. I technically this stuff was all around, but I didn't have the technology for this. Who had a webcam that was of decent quality, sound quality was anything worthwhile, and a computer that can actually stream.
You'd have been a podcast at best.
Yeah, but I'm wondering. There's been a lot of work with like virtual conventions. Kind of doing organized play, having panels and stuff that are on a channel. I'm wondering how much of that would be successful in kind of doing the game store kind of concept, having, like you said, you have a Discord. I'm assuming people find other people to play games with on there. Are there any tools or anything that they're using to kind of facilitate that interchange and that play between them?
Well, when people ask, it's go to Roll20, as there's forums there if you're looking for not just D&D, but a lot of role playing.
Right.
There's an LFG section on my Discord, and I'm sure many others that we know will also have a similar looking for group where you can post up like, I'm free on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Mountain Time or something. And, you try and find people there. I don't know if we're going to find, there might very well be innovation that comes out and other apps or things as people have had some time on their hands and there's a lot of new problems that need solutions. So there's a lot of opportunity. And I want to take a quick side note for any of you that are in dismay because of the state of things. Remember that this is a time of momentous opportunity. You just have to look for it and, identify a problem and pursue it and solve it. And so we might see more connectivity. And I know many companies, D&D Beyond had some things to put out there for others. And really this is a washback of let's communicate. And while many of us might have our noses buried in our phones, how can we still try and communicate and outreach? Because we do want to communicate in some way, even beyond just, a text or something. But how can we show up on screen? And with platforms like Twitch or Mixer or even just YouTube, having more normalized anyway, a comfort level with streaming, with having your face and your voice on camera, or one or the other.
It takes a while to develop that. That's for sure.
It does, but now you look around like, there's 11 billion people on YouTube, and there's 11 billion people on Twitch. Maybe I can do this too, because you find your niche. And that's what I ended up doing with my channel as well. Over 2 years ago, about not 2.5 yet, but over 2 years ago when I first started to broadcast.
Boy, I've been in the game for a while. That's awesome. So like you've been talking about how you've been trying to maintain the store's presence, and obviously you're just breaking even with the numbers that you were quoting before. There are some people probably in our chat that haven't come across your channel thus far. So could maybe describe a little bit what those are. You were talking about the $10 pods there.
Oh, sure. Well, actually, if you'd like, if we have a little bit of time, I can even go back to what got me to broadcast in the first place.
Yeah, please.
Over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, haha, I fooled you. I'm going to go back in time a little bit further than that.
You got us.
Zinger. So I ended up having to move physical locations, back in 2016, as the gentleman who owned my building had passed away, and his family didn't want to manage the property, which is understandable. I don't begrudge them. It's a tragic event, and maybe none of them had the time or the effort or the availability or the know-how to do it. And I'm happy for the family because they found a buyer. And I guess the drawback would be that me and the buyer, there was almost no communication. I had no idea what they were going to do with the building. Were they going to say, yeah, whatever you had going, continue it into perpetuity? I was on very good terms with the owner. Or they might come in and say, nice location. I think that you should pay us $1,000 more a month. I can't do that. Oh, well, then we're going to have to talk. So I said, I would rather have, a certainty than an uncertainty. And in that same year, my former partner, who, in 2006, you might recall when I went into this as a partnership, he went off to do his own thing in 2008. And over that time, he developed kind of his own small, similar business, and I took over the main one. Well, his lease was up, and we got together and said, you don't need to be in that location anymore. I am looking to get out of my location because I have no idea what's going to happen. What can we do? And so we formed a plan that we are coexisting in the same space. It's two businesses. But you think how Sephora is its own makeup and beauty product, but Sephora is nestled within JCPenney. They're their own thing. They're just in the same spot. And so we kind of like drew our not battle lines, because it's actually a very amicable. There was no animosity to the parting or anything. And so getting back together was like, wow, we're actually going to be better off for this. So we chose our specialties and, how we wanted to structure things on the other side of the counter, such that any of you on the customer side of the counter, it would be seamless. No worries. It's not a contentious thing, because that was my worry at first. There could be a lot of markets with contentious game stores where a group says, hey, don't go over to this game store because unless you play Magic, you're not welcome there. Or, hey, the manager over here always makes people feel uncomfortable or whatever. Or it's just, well, I feel loyal to this store. If I shop at the other store, I have nothing against them, but I'll feel disloyal, even though no one's tracking me and knows.
Yeah, I know. Those
so I was concerned about that. So we made it as seamless as possible on the front end, like front of house. And then back of house, we have our own way of going through the business. And so that was settling in the summer of 2016, kind of getting a feel for things, going for that first year when the physical community was like, oh, this is a new place, and shelves were being built, and it was still a work in progress. And then in 2018, and very early into it, because I started broadcasting in towards the end of January 2018, I said, well, for the store, I think I can, as a specialization, as a part of sort of my realm, I can expand. I can search for this new way to interact with people because I had already been on Twitch as a consumer of Twitch. Heck, I had a TV and a Chromecast in the old location, and I had like Twitch Plays Pokemon on the screen because it's relevant and it's constant battles and it's what is happening. What's the big Mugen generator? Salty Bet. I think is it takes characters from different fighting games and puts it into sort of a fighting. Well, anyway. Oh, okay. So I was already comfortable. I was comfortable with it. I said, well, why don't I go from consumption to production? Give it a try. And I had already been doing some YouTube stuff before then, so I was kind of comfortable with that. And so in late 2018. I started, I sat down, I'm like, so what am I going to do? I could do board games, or I guess I could do, could I talk about magic or something? And I said D&D. Well, so what do I do in D&D? Because I spent a while researching that category. What were some big names? What were some big topics? And it didn't seem like there was a lot of content for teaching D&D.
Yeah.
For doing character building, for instructing people. And not just providing instruction, but extending the game store into an online community, because not everyone even has instruction, let alone that comfort level of knowing you can come to a place and not be judged because you're new. In fact, you're welcomed. Or if you've been playing forever, maybe you took a break and you want to get back in, also that you're not going to be judged. And that you can come in, you can learn, you sit at a virtual table. Like, that's been the whole culture, the whole presentation, the whole buildup. Welcome to an online game store. Have a seat. We're going to table talk and BS a little bit. And then we're going to sit down and let's, as a community, use our big brains and make a character and challenge ourselves such that it tries to remove our natural biases. I mean, we were talking about that as a topic before we went live. I may love elves, and maybe every character I play is always an elf, and I always keep finding excuses. Well, I've never played this kind of an elf, so technically it's different. We all have preferences. How can we remove it? How can we challenge ourselves and grow? And so I developed a randomization method to present on the channel that would strip that away, because we have to abide by random dice rolls. Yeah,
and make do with what you get. Yeah.
Yep. And so that was the niche. That's what I felt. Okay, I'm going to put my chisel right up to it. Week, month, boom, year 1. Week, month, boom, year 2. And now we're in year 3. Disaster strikes, and the community that has been molded and welcomed and developed this whole time stepped up in ways that, I mean, there were a couple nights, and I'll be very honest with all of you, not just you two gentlemen, but those out there. I would turn off the camera and I would just sit at my desk, and not out of exhaustion or frustration, but out of sheer overwhelming beneficence and generosity. In exchanges for the capsules and minis and such, but just someone to say thank you, or someone to just come in and say hi, because I'm so used to saying hi to everyone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And now here I am. I'm in that Mortal Kombat kind of wobbly, and now people are saying hi to me.
That's
and it was
thing.
So. I would just sit there and have to process it, with some totally it's sweat in my eyes, I swear. No, but if I hadn't have done that for those 2 years, and those 2 years then built on all the years prior, going back to 2008 when I took it over, 2006 when I got into the business as a partner, going back to that one afternoon when I cracked open my big brother's monster manual, and I got introduced to D&D. If you want to talk about a seminal moment, or can you trace a line of effect to a point? As a kid, I had no idea what it was, but I'll tell you, that old kind of dinged up hardcover black and white sketch monster book.
Yep.
We're here
That's the
today
one that
because
did
of that one moment, that one book.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
And-
it really
Oh,
goes
go
to
ahead, I'm
show.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
you're fine.
Yeah, I think that is the one beautiful thing, not the one, but one of the beautiful things about this is that, you know, as content creators or as game store owners or artists or whatever, a lot of what you're doing is trying to create something for others. You're trying to create a space for people to enjoy. You're trying to create content that they're going to enjoy. And I know, at least personally, I feel like that's an important thing to be doing now, you know, in this particular moment, is to give some form of entertainment out there for people to take their minds off of things a little bit. So we've been streaming like crazy lately. And
A pretty breakneck pace around here as of late.
a lot more than we set off to do initially. But I think
That's for sure.
what's really coming around too, though, is what you're describing, and that, you know, when you're building a community, an actual community, when somebody in that community is hurting, the community comes around. They take care of that person. And I've been to your channel and watched some of this that's happened, you know, where people in the chat are just enormously generous. You know, they understand what's going on, and some people are in positions where they can help, and, you know, bless them. You know, it's an amazing thing that they're able to do that. It's obviously deeply meaningful to the people receiving that help, and you know, it just all goes around. You know, hopefully.
I think that what happens with communities when you talk about things like Twitch is that there's a lot of investment in people, and that you don't always get immediate return on that. But when you talk about getting like return on investment for things and property, people understand it. It seems more tangible, more easy, right? Like, I invested in this commodity. Now commodity is up. I sell it. I get return on investment. Or this thing grew. Now I get return. People sometimes, when it comes to investing in other people, they don't take that step. They don't see people as a commodity that has an actual return. So what you've done is effectively, though, is you like you said, you spent those months and years investing in these people, and then when it was needed, you got that return on investment. And people have to realize that's community building, whether there's a crisis going on or not. This is what you do. And one of the things I had to teach in the fraternity, I was an advisor for my college fraternity after I got out, like, you're investing in people, and then they turn around and reinvest back in you when you need them later. And I've seen that for 20 some years in the fraternity system, but it's rare to see it for me outside that in these other types of communities, because people are so, sometimes you think of them as so fickle and sometimes so very surface in the way that they can be in their interactions with people. So it's genuinely awesome when I do hop into your channel after raids and everything else to see people really, really stepping up and helping take care of you because of what you've been able to do and provide for them for so many years.
Now, we did have Animal G highlighting a question for us. So if you're in the chat and you haven't seen this feature, if you go down to the bottom underneath, send a message, there's a picture of one of our guys, Cam, his face. And if you got some points built up, one of the options is to, I think it's either going to be highlight a message like he did, or the wisdom check question. I think I forgot to set them up correctly today. But if it is an appropriate question, it's not offensive, we'll guarantee read it out loud and we'll get it answered for you. So the question was, do you know where the book is now, referencing the DMG, I assume?
I would have to talk to my brother to see if he still has it. I have no clue. I have no clue if he does. If he does, then that would be amazing. But yeah, I guess I'll have to look into it. Although I will say, Animal, because of that moment, anytime, whether it's in the store and someone buys their first book because they're new to the hobby, or it's an old timer who wants to try something else or to challenge themselves to take a different tack, or on the show if people are getting minis or something, that same spirit of wonderment and adventure, I imagine, you know, when that box is opened and that book is there or those minis are there, that same limitless possibility, that joy, you know, and I take heart. I may have indirectly, let alone directly, helped 1,000 people discover the joy of D&D and storytelling and hanging out with friends and family and doing it. And I may never hear back. I may not hear from 999 of them, but in my heart, it still counts. And I'll tell you, when you get that one person who maybe it's been a couple years, like, oh, hey, yeah, I remember going to the store when it was downtown, and I just want to let you know I moved away and I have a family and kids now, but I was in town. I wanted to stop in and tell you that I have a lot of really good memories from being at the store. And it's like 10 years later. And oh, my heart. and not in the way like, please call 911. I mean, just it's never asked for. It's never looked for. It just happened. And it took 10 years to get to that point. But that return on 10 years of investment on that, maybe it was only on a summer vacation. Maybe they moved away after that. And I only knew the person for 2 months. And yet 10 years later, they come back and say, I remember having really good times in that store.
I mean, it goes to show, like, it's a thing we should be doing more often as individuals too. Very often it's easy for somebody to react in anger or disgruntledness or whatever. Like, that instinct is immediate. But to say that somebody affected you positively seems to be rare in our culture. And I really think that it's important for people to take that time and go back to the people that have enhanced your life and made those things, those moments for you, and let them know. It's a very small thing to do, but it's a huge thing to receive. And it's clearly, that's a lot of what we are hoping to do. When we create these spaces or open a store or do a channel, you want that experience, for other people and yourself. So I mean, I'm grateful to all the other channels out there that are creating content that I'm enjoying. I'm grateful for the examples that I'm seeing being put out there. One of the things I'll say that I was particularly impressed with was I came into your chat maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Time is compressing crazily for me right now.
Yeah, we're in a weird kind of like time dilation, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey period right now.
Yeah, Jimbly Bimbly or whatever it is. Jeremy Baramy, there we are. What I saw that really impressed me was you had somebody new to your chat that was brand new and didn't know anything about role playing. Hadn't played any of the games, hadn't seen any of the books. I don't know how they found your chat in the first place, but stumbled in and were interested. And you took the time, you stopped what you were doing, and you ran a scene for them on the spot. Like, here's the scene that you're seeing. We're going to show you what role playing is. Because it's something very different to tell somebody versus to show them. To get them in there, to bring them to your table, so to speak, and get them involved. And I was really impressed by the tonality of it, and that it was very warm, it was very open. Anything they did, it was like that was a good decision. Okay, let's go with it. It was very good habits for improv, which a lot of us practice as we go through this hobby. But I found that to be an incredibly genuine and beautiful moment that I think goes a long way to making sure this hobby and the people in it continue.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
And it was, what was impressive is that you didn't start with, well, okay, I'm going to tell you how you roll a die to get your character to hit something. You didn't take it from where most people, like when I was introduced, I wasn't introduced to acting. Right. I was introduced to, here's your character sheet, here's how you build it, here's where the dots are, here's what THACO stands for and why it's important in your life now, Dustin. This is what you need to know so that when we talk about this, you don't sound like a dummy. So, most people, when you get someone new, the first thing you want to do is you put the sheet in front of them, you give them some dice, and you're like, now these are the fun things you roll, and we do math. But that's not what you did with this guy. You weren't like, well, okay, get a book, we'll make a character, roll 3d6 and tell me what your number is. It was like, hey, tell me about what you want to be, and we're going to just talk about what you would do in a game. And then maybe we'll talk about some dice and stuff later. So.
And if you or anyone else in the audience has ever been in a workshop when we're doing character creation, one of the last things that we put on the character are the numbers.
Right. Yeah.
Ability scores are not even considered when we're actually making the character. They'll be there. They're a part of the game. Yeah. It'll happen. Where do you want the focus to be? And if we're role playing, if we're world building, if we're storytelling, it should be on the character. And if you understand your character, even if you roll poorly or you have some mathematical weakness to your character or a flaw,
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to understand how to try and take advantage of the situation and turn it around, or to dig yourself out of the hole, or even you'll know which holes to try and avoid because of that. And in a way that's not just going down into a living math problem, because you're in your character's mind. And so, taking a moment to teach, I think that was Goomba. That was at least a major part of his name, I believe, was Goomba.
Yeah.
that had come in. Taking that moment to know to treat others as you might want to be treated. If I were to walk into a game store and everyone's talking games, everyone who plays Magic already knows how to play Magic. So if they and the store owner who already knows how to play Magic would be willing to take 10 minutes out of their day to talk about Magic and to teach me as a newcomer, who's out anything? The old timers get to watch, perhaps a newcomer and get to influence and share their experiences. This is even in like an extremely pessimistic view. They'll get new fodder for F&M to beat and increase their score.
Yeah.
The store owner will get to make more sales to a newcomer. That's the extremely pessimistic. And yet at the same time, by them taking that time in the pessimistic view, I'm still learning how to play Magic and having a blast because I'm learning about it and I'm getting a new hobby and I'm making a whole new set of friends and becoming comfortable with the environment where all this takes place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
now, hopefully it's not a worst case scenario, but
of course.
And so in that moment, teaching him how to role play and to stress what it's all about and who we are, that was an excellent use of time.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it's, I've been around some of the old guard in the past, and there was a very this is my hobby, this is what we do. And if you're here and you don't know about it, well, you should do you should educate yourself before you join our ranks, and that's
gatekeeping.
Such a horrible attitude.
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, it's definitely gatekeeping. I was trying to skirt around the usage of the word, but it's.
You didn't.
I don't
did.
understand why people. Right. I don't understand why people have that attitude, and we've touched on it a little bit, but there was actually a comment in the chat just a few minutes ago from I assume one of your fans here. He was saying that the first time, this is Ready to Nap, said first time he was watching your stream, there was a heckler that you turned around 180 degrees from hater to friend, basically, right there on the spot, and brought him into the community. And it's amazing how people face adversity. The instinct is always to meet adversity with adversity. You just go clash in, somebody's taunting you or whatever, go back at them. It's very difficult to take the other road for some people. For you, apparently it doesn't. This is the instinct, which is fantastic. And that adds to our hobby. It brings more people in, like you were saying. It enriches it. It brings more ideas, more concepts to the groups. And that's, I'm kind of curious how you may have gone around doing that. Is that a common occurrence?
To turn around trolls, or what?
Yeah.
What's the core of what you're getting for?
Yeah, I guess that's part of it. More or less, how do you
I
interact?
guess in a way, when you have your game shop and you're talking about a physical location, I'm gonna guess that throughout your time running your game shop, you've seen a fair amount of that gatekeeping probably taking place at some point or another. Mm-hmm. So what do you do in those situations? As somebody who is the proprietor of the place, you probably feel a certain amount of responsibility to set the tone for the place. So is that something that you've had to deal with a lot, because you've been in it you're not a brand new game shop owner, you've been doing this for a while? So
through just some of it's hard-learned lessons, others is just a fear of something happening.
Sure.
For example, in my old location, I was 1 block away from the newspaper, and I've always been on good terms with them. I would talk about events that we're doing, that we're drawing people to the city, and so I stayed on good terms, but I'm also always scared, because what if a story gets printed that's, missing kid last seen at local game store? Now, we don't, nothing involves the store except last known location, but that could be, and so it's, it's the consideration of what other people might be feeling or thinking. It's kind of an empathy into what might happen, what could happen.
Right.
It is. And so if you're getting that, or if I'm behind the counter, and I've had to do this before too, where maybe there's a group of Magic players that are playing Magic, and someone wants to come in and I don't know, get into Pokemon, and one of them makes an offhanded comment like, "Yeah, even if it's kind of in good nature, but say something like, hey, if you want to get into a game, you should get into Magic. That's the real game." I'm sorry, one moment, and you put the person to the side and you look at the person at the table and say, we're talking about Pokemon, which is the game that this person wants to get into. Magic is fine. It's been around forever. And if this person wants to play Magic, then we'll help him or her play Magic. But that kind of commentary isn't needed because this is what this person has chosen what he or she wants to play.
Right.
And so it's a very, it puts the heckler, even if it was in good nature, on the spot, but it's also it's using tact, but being direct. And of course, the definition of tact is being able to tell someone to go to hell and they ask you for directions.
Yeah.
And so you have to have those checks. You have to, if to keep the store PG-13, you got to call people out when they're dropping F-bombs. Or if they're around there, and it could be a comfortable group of friends, and maybe it's just the four of them in the store, and one of them lays down their hand, proceeds to scoop phase, and says just S my D, or some other comment, even though it's like right at close, there's no one else in there, and you got to call them on it, because then you create this divide. You create this, well, I'm going to let you get away with it.
Right. Yeah.
And if I don't, or if you get comfortable, even if otherwise you don't mean to do that, then you might slip in the store. And I need you to understand that in the store, it's not the same as what's out there in the rest of life. Because the next time you proceed to scoop phase and you tell someone to do one thing or another, or use language, what if that's the moment that a parent and his or her, 10-year-old kid walk in,
right?
Because they want a My Little Pony comic book or graphic novel, and that's their first impression is that, and hey, it happens, right? You could walk down the middle of a downtown street and probably hear 100 times worse from 1,000 different people, but we do that here because we can, and we are voluntarily holding ourselves to this, perhaps even completely arbitrary level, where we're not gatekeeping games that are popular or what will increase your kind of store karma. We're not going to gatekeep editions. If someone likes 4th edition D&D, like me,
yeah, I enjoy it. It's great.
Then it's fine. We can razz each other in a very good natured sense. Have a mini edition war. Though at the same time, you got to know when to stop and say, yeah, you know what? It's at the end of the day, did we have fun? Great. That's awesome. So I don't care. You may have been playing AD&D and that was your formative exposure, and those were your best memories. That was the highlight of your summers or whatever back then. And there's nothing that I can do. I mean, nothing I want to do, but even if I could, there's nothing I can do to take that away from you, because it's so meaningful.
Right.
And so what I can do is create this environment that is open to, what do you want to play? How do you want to pursue it? And can you talk to someone as well about something that maybe isn't going on that you'd like to see happen as an event, or that a new product that you think, wow, there's a small group of us, but I bet we could, if you get a couple boxes in, me and 3 other people might pick it up and maybe we can get something going. To foster communication. Heck, I'll tell you a very interesting litmus test to see if there's a comfort level in your store. We'll talk friendly local game stores. If someone is comfortable walking out of the bathroom, going up to the counter and telling you the bathroom needs attention.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because, and hey, it happens. We're human beings. We poop, we pee, we throw up, and all sorts of other things happen. And it's a bathroom. That's where a lot of that happens, though not all the time. That's something else. But if you've developed a rapport where someone can walk through the store and come up and even very discreetly, the bartender kind of getting on a secret, like, did you need to say something? Yeah,
Right.
just the bathroom needs attention. Say no more. Go and sit down, and I'll cover for you. I got you. And and to also help limit gatekeeping or bias, when you are the store owner and you're the one that goes in there with the scrubber and the plunger, and you're the one who mops the floor, and you're the one that vacuums, and you're the one that picks gum off the tables, that also helps to keep you, it both keeps you in check, but that's what backs up your authority to ask people
Absolutely.
to not cuss, to not say certain things, to lay off of hardline gatekeeping about, this is objectively the best, and if you don't do it, then you're horrible. Because you're rolling your sleeves up and you're getting knee deep in it,
Right.
and you can tell that person, you know what, that is an opinion that you have. It is fine. You don't have to have that opinion here, and you are free to go. In fact, I'll even help you on your way and invite you to leave the premise right now.
Yep.
Because maybe you need to cool off. I don't know. For all I know, and if this is coming off the tongue naturally, it's because I've had to have these conversations before.
Yeah,
For all I know,
have experiences.
something bad's going on at home, or maybe work. Maybe you've had just a really bad day, and so you are making poor choices today. And by the way, eye contact, and you say that bluntly and directly, but tactfully. Right. You are having a really poor day today, and you're making poor decisions. Why don't you go home, and we'll talk about this on Monday. I think you need to cool off. Don't come back until Monday. You'll be welcome back when you do, and we'll resolve it. Ta-da!
Well, see, there's a nice thing that's thrown in there. You didn't say you are a bad person. You said you are having a bad behavior, right? And that makes it a lot easier for people to accept that kind of criticism. Now, Shadzar is trying to figure out what the term gatekeeping is meaning, maybe not in general, but in this conversation specifically by the sounds of it.
I think he's looking for a definition of gatekeeping from your opinion there, Matty. Now, we know that you can't speak for every, friendly local game store owner on the face of the planet, but like, where do you kind of draw those lines as what you consider gatekeeping?
Gatekeeping would be something like a good old boys club, where it's the same group of 4 people that's been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 10 years. And when they come in the store, it's all about them, and no one else's opinion matters. Or if it's if we're seeing some kind of exclusion at a D&D table, like oh, you can't play D&D with us because you're a girl, or some other where it's or even if it's not about being a boy or a girl, if it's just the someone in the store is withholding access to something in exchange for a favor, in exchange for if not a favor, then not necessarily veneration, but sort of like, you have to recognize me as the alpha.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
And so if you are withholding content, or if you're withholding some kind of interaction, for example, I don't know, I walk into the store, I want to play a game, and I wear a t-shirt that says something or has imagery that you don't like. It could be, I don't know, whatever. How many things separate us as human beings? Choose one of the 11 billion.
Right.
And you as a DM suddenly just start, my character just is always under attack by skeletons, and no one else is under attack by skeletons. Something's going on. Why am I being picked on? So gatekeeping in this sense is a person of authority who could even be behind the counter. This isn't just a customer and another customer. A person of authority is abusing that authority, withholding some sort of access or accessibility or the ability to pursue an opportunity in the store because of something. And it could even end up being, and gatekeeping could be that maybe you had a bad day, and you know what? It's your day to be the turd in the pool. Okay? We've all been there. I've had bad days. I've said things that I've regretted, or I've done things I've regretted, and you know what? When I do it there, wow, I don't think it's embarrassing in the moment, but maybe I need that time to cool off. And so by understanding, even by the person on the other side of the counter, you are not a bad person, at least not by default. If you want to go and prove through your actions and your words, you're doing it unprompted yourself. Well, that's literally on you. I'm considerate enough to say maybe today is your day to be the turd in the swimming pool. And I get that. And no one likes that. But you know what? It happened. Let's deal with it, because the sun's going to come up tomorrow. The store's going to be around. There will be another Friday Night Magic. There will be another D&D session. And right now, I got to go get the scoop, and I'm going to place you outside, and you can, whatever. You can.
Yeah, once you're outside the store, what you do is what you do, right? Like,
yeah, I think, if I was defining it, it would just be that anytime that you're preventing other people who want to be part of the community from being a full member, you're doing something wrong. So like, it doesn't necessarily have to be any particular group of people that are being excluded, though that tends to be the example that we see, right? Like oftentimes it's easy to bring the reference of, the girl that gets turned away from the table or gets fawned over to the point where she's like super uncomfortable with the environment and leaves.
Yeah. It can go both ways. Super inclusive there, or super exclusive. Get you to the same spot sometimes.
And that's not to say that that's the only case of where that comes up, because there are certainly lots of other examples. That just happens to be one that is very prevalent, and it happens so frequently. It's the first example that pops in my head. So it doesn't take much to be a decent fellow or a decent gal. Just be
communication.
Exactly.
Case by case, table by table, group by group, communication. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think if you're talking about your own private game at your house with your friends, it could be a private thing. And if you don't want to invite people to your private game, that's fine. But I think when you go out into a public environment, like a gaming store, where it's an environment that's supposed to be a place where other people can come in, become part of the community, I think that's a place where you have to open up your table. You get the kid that comes in that's like 8 years old, doesn't know how to play the game, is interested, and they come to your table. Pull up a seat, help them out, make a space.
I will both defend, and I will also play a bit of devil's advocate, like to what Shadzar is saying. He's looking for a universal application of gatekeeping.
Not gonna
when
find
it's a completely contextual case by case thing,
right?
And nothing stops me as a private store. Not really, but for example, I could put a no girls allowed sign on my private store, on my private property, to my private store, my business. And we run it as a boys only club. I can do that. And only boys can play at my D&D table. And that's fine. And you know what? I will suffer whatever consequences are going to come from that, because people might talk. And by might, people will talk. And suddenly you're going to you have what you want. And that's for you. I guess that's fine. You can play boys only at my private store, on my land, on my whatever. And it's only what I want. And you can do that. Everyone else who might want to play or might want to meet people or learn then are excluded. And all the rest of humanity that's not the boys club or whatever, you'll have your corner. And if you want to exclude others, that is where opportunity to find, a new business, or to start your own business to compete against boys only, or to or to come around here. And then of course that store will get a reputation for being exclusive. And if that's what they want and they don't care, well, then you're wallowing in paradise. Yeah. It's sloughing over you. It's a beautiful, pungent aroma of exclusivity and what you wish, because you can do that. And therefore you're also not free from the consequences.
Yep.
And it doesn't this is maybe it's a low hanging fruit example. Like if we talk about only boys at the D&D table,
right?
It could be, at the same time, I could refuse to run for an 8-year-old who may want to learn how to play, but I'm running a PG-13 table that's otherwise open for everyone, but I'm keeping the presentation there. So maybe I don't want to roll for, or even just because we were talking about an 8-year-old, which is why I was talking about the dangers of turning people into adjectives, because this person might be 8 years old and might be absolutely lucid and educated and civil, or could be a wild child. So the 8 years old isn't necessarily the point. It's how does this person carry themselves? Can this 8-year-old pay attention, or does the parent understand that I will be talking about fantasy violence, I will be talking about zombies, and talking about, not getting into super gore, but talking about blood and pus and stuff dripping, things along those lines. Or having a fully functional adult over the age of whatever, of even 21, come in and say, I want to play your D&D game, but I will not play in a game that features undead. You can ask for that, sure. I cannot present that to you.
I mean, maybe there's one going on somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah, and
you never
fact,
know, but
maybe because I can't offer it to you, maybe I can help you find someone. If I can't do it, then please find someone else who can. I want you to have the game that you want to play. I cannot offer that to you. It's like if I don't have a comic book in stock. You came to buy it from me, awesome. I can't supply it to you. If you get it through eBay, or if you go to another comic store or something, please do, because you're getting what you wanted. I couldn't help you. You gave me a chance. We communicated. And yet at the same time, you are going to win, and you're going to win, and I may not win, but I also do not lose. I wasn't going to make the sale anyway. And if anything, because I was open with you about this, maybe you have a better opinion of me. Because I helped you find it eventually, even though it wasn't through me. And maybe you'll come to me for the next comic book.
Right.
So yeah, there's not a hard and concrete universal gate, unless we're talking about someone, like a position of someone whose job it is to literally keep a gate. That is a gatekeeper that has a consistent universal definition.
Yeah.
But in this case, we're talking about that in the general expectation of some kind of accessibility, that there is an arbitrary exclusion to someone who is not like the conditions.
Right. Because there's plenty of good reasons why at a game store you can turn somebody away. Like you said, they're not looking for the style of game you're running. They're not looking, you already got 8 people. You just simply don't have another seat at the table at this point. Like that happened to me at the game store game I was running. I started with 5 players. I ended up with 8 because they kept bringing new people in. They weren't telling me they were bringing new people in. They were just showing up with people like, this pyramid cleric, can she play? I was like, fine, we got a cleric. Sit down. Like I did that for about the first 3, and I was like, all right, guys, we're cutting off at 8. This is it. I've let you add 3 people. This is it. I can't do any more in the middle of this campaign. Like, so there's reasons, like, and I think that's where you're saying there's not a concrete example. It's always very context based. Like, if you have a group and you're like, look, this is our game. We've been running it for 3 years. We don't really want anyone else in it. It's understandable. Even if you're playing at a game shop, I think that's what Shazar's trying to get at, is like, there's situations like that where you could be like, okay, cool. But if you want to learn, sit down, watch, we'll totally teach you about how this works. And then maybe you'll find a game you can get into. And I think that's probably perfectly normal, and nobody will be mad at you for that either, as long as you're doing it from the right kind of place of
communication
and not being just a complete a-hole about it. Like, people are usually okay.
Yeah.
I think there's an important thing to this as well, is that if your goal is to expand the community, to add people to the hobby, to get more of the hobby, then your actions should always be towards helping people get in. Yes. And when I've been part of communities where that goal was not there, where it was just, I want what I want, like example, Dustin and I were in the Larp community, and there was an old guard of gamers that this was a college situation. So every 4 years, there was a lot of turnover. And it was a student organization. So technically, leadership had to come from the students that were part of it. But what we noticed is over years, it was mostly the old guard that were sticking around. And then we would have a couple younger players learn the ropes, get involved, and then graduate and leave. And so it was this weird lack of retention that was going on. And what we discovered is that as we focused on what the old guard wanted, and as the old guard pushed their way around to get more things, we got less and less and less people in the hobby, and the numbers dropped. And as soon as the numbers dropped, everything started to drop. So it's like they killed their own fun. And it wasn't until we said, okay, look, guys, we appreciate you're here. We want this experience to be wonderful for you. We want to do a lot of the things you want to do. But our focus has to be on making sure this is an environment that everyone's welcome in, that we can bring in new players, that you're not going to just run in because you have the skills and just stomp them into the pavement just the second they walk out of the out of character room. Yes, there are things that maybe are appropriate in the setting of World of Darkness, where you're going to throw them into a brig and start with interrogations and asking if there's a bot from day one with a bone of lies and all this stuff. Or you could just be cool and actually bring them into a scene and get them involved and have fun, and make sure they stick around. And so, I think that's what I'm getting at is when I'm talking about gatekeeping, I'm primarily talking about activities that will prevent people from becoming part of the group. And I don't see a lot of reasons why you would want that unless you are 100% looking to only be your group by yourself doing your own thing, in which case there's no example for gatekeeping to be occurring. So there's nothing to defend.
I think there's a lot of chat going back and forth here about some of this stuff, but I think one of the things that everyone out there in chat or who watches this later, there was a great quote by Mark Schlereth, and if you're not familiar with who Mark Schlereth is, he's an offensive lineman for the Patriots back when they won several Super Bowls. I can't remember exactly which years because that's a lot of years that the Patriots win Super Bowls, but he said a quote one time, and it's perhaps one of my most requoted quotes ever, and he says, "Everyone knows their rights, nobody knows their responsibilities." And if there is a quote that sums up the last 10 years in America, and what I'm seeing by people talking in chat about game stores, public versus private places, or anything, well, everybody knows their rights. Nobody knows their responsibilities. And that's is really maybe where the shift needs to be is, yes, we understand you have a right to a private game. Yes, we understand you didn't pay for a table or this, that, the other. But your responsibility when you're in a game shop is to help support that community and that culture that allows you to have a place to go and continue to be. Otherwise, the lights go out, the sign goes up on the door, and you're stuck wondering where you're going to play next Friday.
And there are game stores which the people behind the counter could very well be kind and unobservant, or even people cognizant of exactly what we're talking about, but they don't enforce it. And so the inmates run the asylum, and the store goes out because the leadership has failed to step in and provide communication and provide context and to try and negotiate, or the overreaches or the whatever, turning a blind eye or whatever is coming from behind the counter and either encouraging the negative behavior, whatever it is, because it's different for every situation. And so through action or inaction, it can happen. And that's why, I really want to stress that this is not a universal constant. And especially in an industry where many hobby stores are their own businesses. They're little mom and pop businesses. Maybe you can find a chain of 3 that's owned by one person in the state or something. And we're not talking because Walmart carries magic cards or something. We're talking friendly local game stores. So there are all these little economic and community social microcosms. They're their own little biomes that have different things. In fact, you can have 2 different game stores in the same city. If any of you live in an area with 2 game stores, you've probably seen maybe one is more like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Warhammer store, and the other is a D&D and Magic store. They tend to do things differently, even if it's the same product, because both might sell Warhammer, but the other one's known as the Warhammer store. Maybe they have more tables. I don't know. And so that's why the circumstances are so different, even between the same between different stores in the same city, in the same county, in the same state, in the same country. And so for these terms, for this sentiment, that's what I want to get across, is that it is not a concrete thing. And so you do have to have vigilance. You do have to be aware of who, is someone saying something in your store? Have you created an environment where someone will come up and tell you the bathroom needs attention, or that guy over there is being a not nice person? Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not just a matter of, is the customer obligated to do anything? No. from the context of just a business transaction, obviously not. They buy their snacks, they buy their books, wherever they come and go. But whenever you become part of a community, this is just a life. Like, if you're a part of a community of other human beings, there are social contracts at play. And we talk about the social contract for tables all the time. Like, what is the expectation between players and the DM? Players to players. Like, there's so many things that can happen in a game. You need to be on the same page. You need to have some baseline of what the culture is of your group. And when you become part of a group, like, and you say, okay, we're part of the people going to this game store, for instance, this is where we hang out. There are some social expectations. Don't be a dick. That's a pretty basic one. People who are disruptive, antagonistic, any of these negative things you want to put out there, they're not value adds to a community. And communities tend to say, look, guy, you need to modify your behavior. And that's.
I have to errata my earlier statement. Mark Schlereth is apparently a Bronco. I thought he was a Patriot.
That's
Cam in the chat there to make sure that I'm on point with my data. So thank you, Cam.
Yeah.
We don't draft offensive linemen in fantasy football, so you'll have to pardon me if I'm wrong on that. But he is an NFL player and a champion amongst that. So.
But I think we could beat this dead horse for a while here, and there's some entrenched positions, I think, that are not going to be changing. And if you're at a table, if you're at a table, you want to keep one way.
You know what the culture of your game shop is.
Yeah.
And if you found a game shop where you're happy, and if you're running your game there, and you're allowed in the building, then you're probably fine. I have a feeling that, like Matty would suggest, if you're going to your game shop and you're the problem, you won't be going to that game shop much longer because they have a right to tell you to leave, even if you don't think you're doing anything wrong. They can show you the door. So they have that right. It's their shop.
And they should, because many times there's an enforcement issue behind the counter.
Yeah.
You should remove people that are disruptive.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, we've used this example before. I said beating a dead horse, and I'm back to flogging it.
At my D&D table, there's a meme that's just developed where we'll get into arguments where we're actually all cohesive, and so we just go, "I'm agreeing with you."
Yes,
I know, we're both agreeing.
That was actually our entire premise of Dustin.
No, you're okay.
I needed to convey the passion of agreement that can happen at a D&D table among friends who've been playing the same game for 10 years.
I've got a limiter on, so you're okay. So it's the one game I could think of that there was a very clear example of this occurring was in Dustin's game, actually. We were playing at a I don't even remember where we were at. We were at your house.
My house when I lived in Urbana. It took me a sec to realize what you were going to refer to, and now it just occurred to me, and I know which game you're talking about.
I haven't even said anything except for you ran a game, and he's run many games, but he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I know which one you're talking about now. Yeah,
we were playing a game. We had some new players. We had some people that were like a little bit more on the religiously conservative side. And so we were trying to be good about our language, and we're playing a World of Darkness game, but we were playing a different kind of style of it. We were like kids at a summer camp kind of thing. And this dude that he had been out of the community for a while.
Ever had got ruined by this.
It's such a good game too. But there was a guy from our Larp community he's an old school dude. He'd been kind of around, and he had been on some hard times. We're like, look, why don't you come play the game with us? It'll be all right. We'll get you a chance out.
Well, let's tell us how it really happened, Jeff. What happened is Scotty bailed on us. Damn it, Scotty. Scotty bailed, and because of the storyline I had, I needed someone to replace Scotty, and so this other dude was having this rough time. And so I was like, why don't you come join this game? We got a spot that opened. And now cue Jeff. What exactly went down?
Well, he basically started hitting on this guy's wife. They're both players there, so that's going on, which is awkward as is. And was this a game he was playing the neo-Nazi, or was that the vampire?
No,
LARP?
that was his character at LARP.
Yeah,
maybe that should have been the red flag I should have looked for, but
I can't remember the exact details. It blurs together for both events, but this guy was just like, let's go haul in on racism and offensive terminologies and stuff. And we're like, yo, dude, I get that that's your character, but let's not,
It killed the game in one session. We
One
literally
session
never played the game
over.
again after that.
Nobody wanted to play anymore.
It killed it.
Yeah, that
It
guy
went
was
from game
something else.
session 1 being one of the coolest games I put together to game session 2. It literally ended because I introduced a different player because the other player realized he couldn't make that commitment regularly. So,
So yeah, okay. Flogging has ended now.
Yep, there we go.
So
we vented. It doesn't it feel
got it out
freeing and
there.
wonderful?
I feel light.
Yeah.
So one of the things we were talking about before that kind of got sidetracked there, you were talking about the ways that you've kind of transformed your store into the virtual format, which is, I haven't really seen anybody else doing that. Like, so essentially people can go to your channel, they can, it seems like, if I'm not mistaken, they can make purchases of materials and games, books, and related things through Twitch. Or am I getting that kind of wrong?
You're not incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not to the point where I could say you're correct.
Okay.
It's in a weird kind of the web store is partially made, and as a big result, because most everything was done in store, actual brick and mortar. People come in and pick stuff up, and so over the 40-ish days, the 40 days and nights here of what we've been going through, getting all of the inventory online is a big priority. And so, Magic went up first because Magic is a huge part of the store.
Yeah.
And
things
like
the
D&D minis and other, it's not that they're there. In fact, for a while they just weren't visible. And then on the back end of the website, they were also taking this time to improve the point of sale system because we use Crystal Commerce, if you're familiar at all.
I'm not.
And what happened is in some of these segments, every picture of the product broke, like the link broke.
Oh.
And so I could make it go live, and I could tell you, hey, here's a Beholder mini, and you could see, the price, and you could read it's a Beholder mini. But if you don't see it,
right,
you might have a Beholder in your mind, but I want you to see what you're going to be getting. And if it's a broken image that looks sloppy on us. I don't expect, it's cool if you do. I don't expect you to consider maybe all that stuff was actually uploaded and then a system like a reboot or something on the back end happened that was beyond our control that broke all the pictures. And now I look lazy because I have a bunch of broken images on a web store, which, by the way, trying to get consistent images of products. And here's the kicker. It doesn't take PNG, so they all have to be downloaded and converted to JPG. And when you do that for approximately 11 billion minis, and then it breaks, and you just wasted a ton of time while trying to do everything else, like do show prep, and then run a show, and then sleep, and then get up and go to the store and do errands, and try and do stuff like convert 11 billion pictures, and then they break, and then you try and do something else, and then you got to do show prep, and then you got to put on the show, and then you got to sleep, and then you got to wake up, and then you got to go to the store. So there is a web store, but primarily right now, the best way to do any kind of business, such as it is I bring home limited quantities of stuff. I average it out over capsules. All the prices are averaged out, and we'll do capsule pulls because it's completely in my realm of what I'm capable of doing with my time and my store right now, while I'm trying to get everything else in a semblance of working order and with a good presentation. And I will say this too about presentation. If you go to a friendly local game store and this isn't like the litmus test, and obviously be careful unless you're doing chemistry about litmus tests. Look in their bathroom. What is the state of their bathroom? Now, if it's bad, I mean, for all we know, some person might have just come out and absolutely destroyed the place. It happens. And hopefully they're going up to the counter and telling someone to attend the mess. But if it looks like it's been, or if you've gone there several times and the restroom hasn't been attended to, then that's an indicator of one's passion or attentiveness or, dirty bathrooms can happen, but is it chronic? And especially in a place where people spend 4 to 6 hours every time they visit, you gotta, that's just an indicator of what is the attention given to the community.
It's like clean the corners and the rest of the store will take care of itself, kind of an idea, and kind of reverse, I guess. We do have a
question coming back in here from the chat from Joker, who says, Matty, wondering, do you ship international? Asking from South America here. He goes down to Brazil.
As long as your country can accept whatever you're getting. Some countries don't allow trading cards or maybe even figurines. So, and then of course, if there's any tariffs or things that are due on your end, but I can ship internationally. I've sent many miniatures up north. I've sent them out to across the pond to the UK. I've sent minis to Australia and such. So if you want to work something out, Joker, if you're looking for something, then we can talk about it, weigh things out. I can give you some quotes on what it might cost.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because there's got to be a small bit of upcharge to cover for international shipping, right? Because I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah,
you can't just say, "Hey, this capsule $40," and then find out it's going to Timbuktu, and there's $50 worth of additional shipping on there. Like,
what people have done, especially because these are social hobbies, if it's a group of 4 D&D players, they'll all just kind of pitch in together and get like a care package. And so everyone splits the cost so it doesn't destroy one person's wallet with shipping or anything. And then the whole group benefits because you open up 100 minis that are in the box and now you can play D&D to your heart's content there.
And you see this in a lot of businesses, even when everything's all opened up. They'll do like basically surprise boxes of X amount of dollars for a bag, and there's just whatever content's in there is what you get. I mean, you see those kinds of things done in places. A lot of times just trying to remove old stock. They'll repackage them up that way, and sell things out. So it's a neat way to do it online, though.
Yeah, and people are able to see what they could potentially be winning, right? It's not just like a completely random thing.
I give clues as to what might be in the box. I don't reveal the contents because I want there to be some surprise,
mystery,
and because of that as well, what I do is nothing stops me from completely, creating some sort of artificial price structure or whatever and fleecing people. It's like getting back to it's just us that are allowed to play this game, right? It's my product. I can sell it how I want. And I'll tell you what, my reputation, the trust that I've built in the community will just be gone.
It's like at the conventions when they used to sell those Mario boxes that had random prize in it. You'd pay like $10 for it, and they could have like a piece of lint in it, or they could have something cool in it.
So I give clues, and what I do is I go by the MSRP on things. So if someone's like super observant at the end of especially on a night where we sell everything in the box, if you're marking down what everything costs, you'll see what it comes to.
Right.
So I'm transparent about that. People know what they hold because I update their hold lists. And there's also sort of this aftermarket where I'm holding on to figures for people that they can trade as well, so that you don't feel like, oh boy, I'm stuck with a piece of lint. Because hey, what if you really want a piece of lint and I have a piece of lint that I don't want? Well, hey, boop-a-doop, we trade and we're better off for it. So it's not just I'm going to sell you something. I'm going to offer some fun. I'm providing you context, because if you're like, how do I run a beholder encounter? Ask me in chat. I'll give you tons of ways you can run a beholder encounter. Maybe I can make that the focus of a session even. So I'm providing I'm providing the product. I'm providing a community. I'm providing an economy, and I'm providing support for it.
Absolutely.
And then there's also the fact that I'm putting my reputation at risk, as well as even my wallet, because nothing says like if kind of the average would be if I have 10 capsules at $10. And so, I have 2 things at 5 and 2 things at 15. Everything averages 10, right? Well, if I only sell 2 capsules that night and they're both the 15s, I can't control that. And I am going to make good on delivering that product to you, even though, I lost out economically. Yeah. And so I have to risk something because I'm asking you to risk trusting me that I have something cool, or that I'm providing support, or that you have these options. And because we're both entering into this with this understanding, this voluntary interaction. I mean, if we want to talk economics, invisible hand stuff, whatever, we can go in that direction. But we're both risking something, and we're also both engaging in in a mutually beneficial and voluntary action.
The old prisoner's dilemma.
Yeah. If I'd had the foresight, I might have purchased one to have it here by now, so we could do an unboxing live. Like,
oh, good call. We had a couple comments here.
On Wednesday, we're going to have our monthly box giveaway. And nice. What I do is from all the people who subscribe to the channel, because it's very generous that they do, but I want to turn that generosity around. And so what I do is I purchase boxes out of my inventory with the money from subscriptions.
Nice.
And then awesome. You don't have to subscribe. You don't even have to be a follower. If you just show up on Wednesday and you enter the raffle, you could walk away with a box of minis.
Oh, nice.
And so the community buys minis effectively for itself. And it has free shipping to a U.S. address. If you live outside the U.S., I mean, that'd be some extra there, but at least to the U.S., it goes out there, and there's no pay to enter. Subscribers don't have better luck. Followers don't have worse or better luck or anything like that. It's all done by a bot. It's all 100 people enter. Everyone has there's 10 capsules, and it's 1% or whatever. I'm talking too quickly, but however the math works, right? It's done neutrally. I don't stir it. I don't pull it. It's done in that remote fashion. And then I send minis out to people to hopefully make memories, to have fun, to play D&D with their friends, to learn D&D. Or maybe, I don't know, you're a parent and you win it and you're like, well, I'm going to give it to my kid. Congratulations, the hobby still benefits. The kids playing with figures, even if they don't play with D&D, maybe that's their monster manual that I had when I was young. Maybe that's what sets them on the path. That's why I honestly, I mean, besides there's laws about raffles and, entering and whatnot. Yeah. But if we look at an altruistic level of it, I want minis to go out. And this is a way that everyone wins. You may not get a box of minis, but if you subscribe, you still helped another person get into the hobby or enhance their hobby or allow them to trade for the one mini that they really wanted because they got something that another person in the community really wants. And we foster communication and we foster camaraderie. There's no losing in this ultimate sense of what happens there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's the third Wednesday of every month.
I was going to say, would you mind telling everyone about when that takes place? You say it's on Wednesday.
Third Wednesday of the month, unless it's towards the end of the year, that ends up being moved a little bit because maybe with the timing of Christmas or whatever, or New Year. But the third Wednesday of the month is when we do that. And if it changes, I let people know on Discord.
So that's this coming Wednesday.
Yes,
the third one of the month.
The 20th, yes.
The 20th.
I chose the third Wednesday of the month because people tend to have bills at the beginning of the month and the end of the month.
Yep.
I want you to pay your bills and to take care of your stuff first. Take care of yourself first before you do anything with me. And then if I've done enough to earn a $5 a month subscription from you, you throw the $5 in and it goes into the pool. And then in the middle of the month, if there's nothing else competing for your income and I've earned it, right? That's a stress test for me. I want to make sure I'm earning it. So I look at the subscriber number in the middle of the month and I give out boxes based on that.
Yeah.
Because we got to help each other, take care of each other as well.
Right. Got a super fan of the chat that I'm not sure. I'm going to butcher this name, but it looks like Dale? Something like that?
Deagle.
Deagle? I don't know. It's an
Daily.
Oh, is it daily? Is that how you say it, daily?
Okay. They said that they bought over 300 miniatures from you, so that's and
Hamsters with Hats wants that Beholder Mini in Denmark. He says he can't find, or he or she says they can't find them over there. So
that'd be a good one there.
They redeemed it. I feel obligated to say it because they redeemed it with their cam points. So
yeah, we were gonna get around.
Well, I only have the one. Maybe they'll do a reprint. I was thinking about doing something special for this because they're very hard to come by without at least paying exorbitant fees. But I'll tell you what, if you want to be the coolest kid in Denmark, maybe we can get a care package sent out to you, and I might be able to sneak that beholder in, and you can be the one person to have a beholder mini.
Cool.
I say that with love and respect for people, in whatever country. But if you want it and you want to put that to use and throw that down on a table and have awesome encounters, I want you to have fun. And so, I don't know what I was going to do with it, but that sounds like that might be a fun way to make sure that the beholder finds a good home and teaches people about total party kills.
Yeah, that's what comes up quick with those. Joker wants to know, do you have Deadlands figures or Call of Cthulhu ones?
Not on the shelf, but I might be able to order them in depending on distributor availability. I can if you send me a message, I can check for you. I really can't tell you who has what right now, because with the distributors for the most part being closed and now being open, but maybe having stuff that was sent out, or they didn't get in their own restocks, or new stuff has been put. I don't know who has what. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky to know what I have. So this is a time for any of you out there, not just with me. If you have a local comic store or a local game store, talk to them. They'll most likely be able to do custom orders for you. And it could be very expensive to stock stuff just straight up on a shelf, because in many instances, it turns into expensive wallpaper that sits there.
Yep.
If you talk with them, they can probably have a product for you, within a week, maybe 2 at the most, depending on the cycle of things. And so if you're looking for something in particular, communicate. The worst case is they'll say, no, we don't have it, but we could probably find it for you. And if we can't, maybe that store owner knows someone else who has it, and you can end up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. This is kind of wraps us around here, but like we were talking about before, anyone can easily go to Amazon and buy a book on discount,
right?
And sure, that's technically helping the hobby in some sense, but when you're helping other people who are sticking their neck out and providing a service, and giving a place for people to play, giving a chance to educate people and bring them into the hobbies and that kind of stuff, you should definitely take that option every time. Like, if you're going to get a book, go through somebody local. And I mean, that's the classic, shop local kind of fanfare. But it does make a big difference. That's what keeps the hobby humming. The more we talk to people on this show, the more times we've talked to content creators, in particular, we've learned it's just people, right? Just average folks out there trying to get by, trying to come up with something unique and interesting to share with other people. And, it's when you go to conventions and you meet some of these folks, like you just sit around, you talk to them, they're just people. They're people grinding out day by day, just the same as you are. And if you're in a position to help somebody that's putting in inroads and making this hobby available, take it. So if you get the chance and you have access, go check out MattyMorgs stuff and buy some stuff through them.
Or as they say in Letterkenny, get off your fucking wallet, Derry. Get off your wallet. You buy those oversized candy bars from your local guy, and you pay the extra $2 or whatever so that they can, give their girls some dance classes or something. That's what you do. You make sure you get off your damn wallets.
Get that money circulating back around the community. So we are in that last 10 minutes of the show already. Somehow 2 hours just blurs past in an instant. I don't know how it always happens, but we get started and people are like, I don't know if I could fill 2 hours. And then 2 seconds later, it's the end of the show. Wow, we got a couple redemptions here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Big blocks of text, too.
Hamster with hats. Problem here is an order a huge box of randoms and don't want to do a specific mini order. It gets too pricey with the taxes and shipping to get it there. It blocks a lot from us having game we would like. I'm just going to say, when I started gaming, the D20 that no one liked was the big bad end guy, and he sat on the map over there.
Yep, the Coke can was.
In a game that is about imagination, sometimes don't let those things keep you from having the game that you want to have. And then realize, like he was saying earlier, those other things are what's the most important. Is what's in your mind and that shared experience in your mind, and you make do with whatever props and things you have. And then after that, if you're able to get yourself a cool beholder mini from Matty or somewhere else, then so be it. The next time you use one, now you got a cool mini. but don't
Absolutely.
let that part ruin your game experience. So
Yeah. I mean, the early days of gaming were definitely, like Dustin said, just Coke cans, and like this particular chip is the edge of the building over here, and like, okay, cool, that works. See, Joker redeemed one as well. He's saying, especially now that COVID-19 is making gaming stores forced to change tactics in here. Many of the Magic the Gathering tournaments were canceled, and many mom and pop gaming stores are now selling books for cheap. And, not to be a doom and gloomer here, but a lot of folks are going to have to make some decisions about how they want to maintain businesses or not maintain them throughout this. So, this is the critical time when, if you have a local gaming store, go check in on them. If you got a favorite restaurant in the neighborhood that you want to support, you want them to be around, go check it out.
that's right.
Take care of the people that you want to have around, because we're in a time right now where everyone needs a little bit of help. If you're in a position to do it, be that person. And
That's right.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to stand around with my hand out or anything like that, but it's a thing. It's really important right now. And it's hitting a lot of people. A lot of people are in a rough spot right now, and probably a lot of
Make
people on the
sure,
chat.
and this isn't to you, for all of you out there, this is a stressful time, and we will have to do things differently.
Mm-hmm.
I want to stress again, look for opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe one will fall in your lap. Awesome if it does. There will be a lot of opportunity out there, but we got to sort through a lot of garbo first. And you have to challenge yourself. You have to look elsewhere. Kind of like rolling a random character. We got to try and remove our biases, or, wow, it'd be nice if I could. Well, it would be nice. Can we be nice? Can we find that? So can we learn? Can we grow? Can we adapt? Can we innovate? And honestly, in a time like this too, can we survive? And then after we get through the survival period, then, we can look at rebuilding.
Absolutely.
But right now, can we get through this?
Yeah, things will look different too. Sure. I think we're going to learn some new things, new ways of doing business, new ways of interfacing with people.
Yep.
I don't think businesses are going to be the same as they were when we came into this. This could be a whole topic we could have gone on for hours probably with. But I do want to make sure we thoroughly plug your channel and make sure that people know times that you do things, events that you put on. If you want to talk about your store's location, if it's reopening, all these things, fill us in on some of these details.
Oh man, he brought in the Twitch kitten at the end for the.
All right. Well,
100 followers.
All of you who do subscribe, you have a special emote for this opportunity. Let me see those cat butts in chat, please.
You have a cat butt emote?
Yes, I do.
That's fantastic.
Because of this.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
cat butt emote.
Brilliant.
Love it. So yes, if any of you are in the Sandusky, Ohio area, and many of you might know it better for Cedar Point, which is a big amusement park right on the lake. If you come to Cedar Point, stop by and say hi. Otherwise, if something else brings you to Sandusky, lake or fishing or the water park resorts or whatever, hey, please stop in our physical location. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you can find us. You can find us online, or honestly, through the Twitch chat. That's a big representation of what happens at least the role playing side of things. Although I'll tell you, my goal for this year, once I also get a new computer built, I'm going to take the old one to the store, and maybe I can start broadcasting from there. Some expanded stuff to make it even more of a game store that you can visit remotely. So talking about things that adaptations and whatnot, that's an adaptation I'd like to make.
Sorry.
No,
it clearly happens all the time. He built an emote for it, so we're just rolling with the punches here. Just keep going on, Matty. You're doing great.
But yeah, if you stop by on Twitch, unfortunately, I am woefully underrepresented on social media because I don't have the time to get all of this coordinated as much as honestly it should be. Mm-hmm. But I also can't afford to hire someone in a professional capacity. So I'm kind of in a rut regarding that. So if you're on Twitch, interact with me through Twitch, through the Discord, through any of the other communities that we share our crystal spheres touch for planar travel, and so we can talk there. once the online store is more filled out, I can make sure to more copiously put that out there. But you can find you can find a link for it, or you can ask me for it, since it's just magic right now. If you want to build a custom order, again, a particular set of minis or something like that, let me know, as I'm having to transition from brick and mortar, maw and paw, kind of everything done by hand, into a more digitized version. In fact, for many of you out there, if you've ever ordered something from me, I've been handwriting all your labels. I handwrite a message on a card and I put it in for you. It's all done by hand, which is, it was good how it was before, but now I'm going to have to grow and adapt and get new technology and be more efficient in that regard too.
Yeah,
so
I hear
growing
that.
pains and uncertainty and all the things that, it keeps life going.
Absolutely. Now, we did get your channel linked in there. Animal G was good enough to take care of that. You talked about your Discord. Is there a chance you could drop your link in our chat? I think you should be able to. If not, we'll find out here real quick and it'll bounce.
If
and
not,
then
you can drop it in the Discord and I'll relay it to the chat.
Just want to make sure that if people
let me generate. I
I
think I can generate an invite.
Excellent. So while he's getting that, I do want to say thank you so very much for joining us tonight. It was a wonderful conversation.
Absolutely.
It's good having somebody in the hobby coming on and somebody else, doing similar stuff, out there working the Twitch and trying to make entertainment. And there it goes. Perfect.
There it goes. You got it. Congratulations. Everyone, you can take that Discord invite right there. Go to Matty's Discord, join up, be part of his community.
Yeah, we do keep it PG-13, safe for work. It should be accessible and fun and a lot of participation. And there's a fun little coloring contest going on right now involving the channel mascots. It's not like a super competitive contest, but if you want to download it in MS Paint or Photoshop, or you just have some crayons, or print it out and give it to a kid and have your kids color it with colored pencils or something. It's something fun. It supports the community in a non-monetary fashion, which is fine, because let's give ourselves something to do and innovate. And maybe after a month or so, I'll ask people for some submissions and I'll send out some minis to people who participate and do a cool job at a theme.
Fantastic.
Yeah, our TT2KB Discord's not quite so safe for work. So
no,
if you have to sort out which one you're going to put where, keep the safer stuff work on Matty's. You can come over to ours, with some of the other stuff. So.
Yeah, and Animal G is linking a little bit here. So that's our Discord, by the way. So if you'd like to also be part of ours, I would say join both of them. You're going to get lots of people on both sides, mingling, getting together. We're going to hopefully have a lot of the same people, in both places and get to see what everyone's up to. It's going to be fantastic. We do a lot of just random conversations in there. We have a looking for group section. We keep you appraised of some of our shows that are going on, which, Dustin, you want to kind of go through our weekly schedule here?
I'm going to give us a real quick version of the rundown because we're already almost over time here. So Monday nights, 10 p.m. Central Time, here on the Wisdom Check, you'll find me, Jeff, and a guest pretty much every week. And we talk about different tabletop RPG topics, products that are out there, things you can do. Owning game shops even now. It's awesome stuff. So you can find us here Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Central. Our boy Cameron, the Cam, he makes music live here on our stream for tabletop RPGs. He's been making music for our Everstorm game. I think this week he's doing something for our Thursday night Shadowrun game that I'm going to get to in a minute. So we'll get back to you. Team Bardic Knowledge. That's right. Animal G's a big Team Bardic Knowledge fan. So Bardic Knowledge tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Come watch Cameron make some music. It's going to be awesome. Wednesday night, Jeff over there, he runs a 2nd edition Pathfinder game, the module Fall of Plaguestone, where you can come watch me and the rest of the guys here from T2KB be a complete cast of characters. We really went over the top on our role play for this.
You gave me some things to struggle through. It's true.
Yeah. So we've not made Jeff's life easy. So come watch 10 p.m. Wednesday. This week we have a special on Thursday. Thursday's usually our video game night, but this week we have one of the writers of the 6th edition Shadowrun book who's going to be running a Shadowrun game for us. And that's Scott Schultz, and he's going to be here, and we're going to be playing Shadowrun 6th edition. He's going to be running the game. It's going to be one of our series of TT2KB spotlights where we do a one-shot of different systems throughout the year. There's no real time on when those things are going to be happening exactly. We do have a guest of honor for that, and as Jay Brews. he's going to be on there with us. So Jay Bruce is going to be playing with us as well that night. So we welcome him to the table with us. Fridays is a night off around here. So
Yeah, believe it or not, we take those every once in a while.
it's not a night off for me. I'm actually appearing on Zweihander that night for the last session of Enemy Within, the famous Warhammer module, Enemy Within. We're finishing the first book. We're using Zweihander rules, so that's going to be over on Zweihander RPG. You'll be able to find me there 9 p.m. Central Time on Friday, where my character is about 95% guaranteed to die this week. So come watch me die. It'll be a lot of fun. And then Saturdays is our Everstorm game. This coming week is a week off. We only play every other week. We just had a game on Saturday. You can find all that stuff in the VODs here. I go back and I highlight everything we do and put them in a nice little folder so you can find everything you want. Many of our broadcasts, including the Wisdom Check, Everstorm things, those are being uploaded and put onto YouTube by Jeff down there. He's doing a fantastic job trying to keep up with all that stuff, plus run his dad's streams and everything else going on. And Jeff, since we're talking about your dad's streams a little bit, tell us what your dad is doing these days.
Yeah, so as we discussed earlier on, my dad is an artist full-time, and he does his entire living off of convention sales and online sales. So in this time, we've transitioned as well. We've made our pivot, so to speak, and he is now doing some live streams of his sculpture. So on Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So many time zones. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. He is doing his live sculpting of one of our characters, and he's going to be going through a series of all of them. So not only do we get to have pictures painted by Levi, which I think we missed that show maybe.
That's because we never know when it's going to happen.
We never know.
Our DM does art and makes art for all of our stuff, but I don't know if he's told us when he's on again. So
no clue.
It's hard to announce him.
Captain Chaos. But DM to Art is where he does that, and he drew all of our characters for his game. And they're fantastic. He did them in Photoshop and just awesome. And my dad decided he was so inspired by them that he wanted to sculpt them. So he started off with Kodo, who is the Dragonborn Paladin played by Clint. And so he is working on that. He's been 2 sessions in. So this last session, he started working on the scaling and started putting on a few pieces of armor. It's going to be sweet. So come on Sunday to check that out. He's also apparently decided to do some more streams throughout the week, so I guess I got more of them to do. So tomorrow, before you check out Cam, let's see if my times are right. I think it's 7 Eastern Time. I'll have to double check this. But check it out on this channel, DLP Pancake, all the caps on the first 3. And that's where he's going to be doing some sculpting. I think he's going to be doing a bonus section on Kodo tomorrow. And then on Thursday, he does streaming on Facebook. So, 8 p.m. Eastern Time there. So if you want to join that, go check out his Facebook and get tuned in. On that, he's actually working on a D&D themed owl. So like a wizard kind of character. So it's pretty cool. I think that's practically everything. You got all the links out there. So check out his Patreon, check out his Twitch, check out his YouTube. I think we have officially beaten the end of this to death, haven't we? Merchandise, bunch of stuff. Thank you, Animal G, for linking all that stuff. Much appreciated.
Thank you to our mods, Air Laser and Animal G. They do a fantastic job here when it comes down to the promos times of getting links and everything in there that we need. We always appreciate you having here, especially during this rough time where we are currently without Clint. We miss you, Clint. Come back and run the show for us, Clint.
Yeah, he's out from work
right now. So Jeff's pulling double duty. He's running stream tonight and helping host, so he's pulling double duty.
Yeah, some people like Matty take care of that all on his own. It's pretty amazing. So Dustin, we should do the thing where we help community out and do our favorite part, which is find somebody awesome to raid and dump our great audience that's been here with us tonight. Thank you so much, everyone who came. 32 of you stuck around all the way to the end here. That's pretty awesome. Normally we do raid Matty at this point.
Yeah, normally this is one of those times where we might drop on Matty, but Matty's with us. So let's
Matty, what are you doing?
Let's see who I got here. I need to start picking up some more Monday night streams because no one's doing D&D. Well, we got Quest and Chaos doing tabletop RPGs. Matty, do you have somebody on your list you want me to pull up?
Ooh. Let's take a look. Oh yes, actually, we were talking about some Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
If we go raid Gathering of Nerds, all one word, Gathering of Nerds, we can go to Brisbane by night for some Australian vampire the Masquerade adventures.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Everyone get out those emotes, get them ready. We're going in 4.